Hey there all, welcome to a different edition of a Thursday night live stream, quote unquote, of the Hard Rock Show. As you can see, I'm in a different location tonight, courtesy of a family event that I've had on all week. So no live stream, quote unquote, tonight. So what I've got for you is two pre-prepared interviews that haven't actually been released yet. So first up, we're going to talk to Jordan from Carmeria, and then next up after that, we're going to talk to a couple of the guys from TDT, also known as the Dreadful Tides. As usual, like, follow, subscribe, all the usual stuff, and my apologies again for this one being broadcast as quote-unquote live, but we didn't want to leave you hanging on a Thursday night live stream, so I figured I'd give you a couple of interviews instead of the usual antics. We'll be back again next week with more of our stupidity, as always. But for now, we're going to kick things off with the first of two interviews. This one is about New South Wales band Carmeria. We had a great chat with Jordan from the band, and this one covers the new album, Tragedy to More, which, by the way, is absolutely fantastic if you haven't checked it out, and a whole lot more on top of that. So without any further ado, let's get on to the show. Hopefully you enjoyed tonight's presentation. I'll be back again a little bit later on, but for now, here's the interview with Jordan from Carmeria. All right, folks, we have been joined by the extremely talented and very busy Jordan Von Gray from Carmeria and a few other projects as well, if you're paying attention to his individual career. But we are talking about Carmeria at this point in time. I'm assuming I'm pronouncing that correctly.
You sure are, yep.
Nice. But for those who don't know, you just give a brief introduction to yourself out there.
My name's Jordan Von Gray. I've been a singer-songwriter probably for about 15 years now, and been in multiple bands across that time, across many genres. So it's been quite a journey. It's been a journey I've particularly enjoyed, and I've been privileged enough to work with some incredible musicians and songwriters as well, and it's been a real privilege. I've really enjoyed that musical journey. But currently, I sort of sing and write for the symphonic metal band that we're talking about today, Carmeria, and I also am the front man for hard rock / alternative metal band Bad Moon Born. So, I've been in Carmeria for about 10 years now, and Bad Moon Born for about 5 years. So, and those are pretty much the only two bands I'm in these days. So I am currently, in the process of working on the ever long bloody solo record that I'm sure most of us singer-songwriters have planned in the works. So it's coming along, but it's probably still a couple of years away. But it's mainly Carmeria and Bad Moon Born at the moment.
Nice. Well, there is a crossover with Bad Moon Born when it comes to production, which we'll get to a bit later on. But we are talking about Carmeria today. So give us sort of if you can, the 90-second to 2-minute sort of brief background of the band. It started out in 2012, although you joined in 2014, if I'm correct. So just give us a bit of a backstory to the band overall.
So Carmeria was originally a female-fronted prog rock outfit. They formed in 2012, released an EP in 2013, and then disbanded. And then the original keyboardist and guitarist, Jerry, Jerry's currently still in the band, he's the only original member, wanted to continue with a new genre, so going into that symphonic metal, gothic rock, into those genres, and they posted an instrumental on Facebook, funnily enough, just asking for singers. And I think I might have met Jerry at a night out somewhere in the city, and I heard it, and always been a massive fan of symphonic metal. Thought I'd give it a crack, recorded a vocal demo over the top of it, sent it, and I was like, oh, look, man, I'm not really sure if this is what you're going for, but here's what I'm hearing. And he loved it, and was like, all right, when can we get you in? And that was in 2014. So that was basically how I got in the band. And then there were various sort of lineup changes. We were all busy with other musical projects at the time, so we were kind of just chipping away at material for the album. And then in we came up with a few songs, played a couple of shows. Then in 2018, brought on Mish as a keyboard player, and a bloke called Lachlan, who's a good friend of mine, as a drummer. And then, we released a Bene in 2021, and that was the first album. That was really a collection of songs that had been written over really the sort of 6 years since I joined the band. So, very long process. It was kind of something that we were working on part-time, which is why it took so long. But 2018 saw us get that full lineup that would eventually see the release of the album. So always grateful and appreciative of those times, because it was such a long process. And here now, sitting bloody 10 years later, about to release the second album. It's been a really, really cool journey, but with lots of self-discovery and learning new skills. So that's pretty much in a nutshell, really, up until this point.
Cool.
But yeah.
Just quickly before we get on to the new album, let's go back and touch on Advene, which you mentioned there. Was the debut album released in 2021. What was the overall response to that like? I mean, especially for you guys having worked on it for the best part of 6 years, but then sort of how do you feel now, a few years removed and with a new album under your belt? How do you feel looking back on that album as well? So tell us about the response and sort of how you feel now when you're looking back on it.
Yeah, so the response was really good. It was... we ended up running 2 PR campaigns, probably about a year apart. And the response we got from sort of music fans and critics was quite positive. I think overall, on the critic score scale, it was probably around like 7 or 8 out of 10 we seemed to get a lot of. And for a debut, we were really happy with that. And sort of brought in a lot of people to the music, and got a lot of new fans, and that was really cool. And we've since started like a subscriber channel where we've got like a Discord. It's on a page called Coffee, and we've got a Discord where we've got a fair amount of people in there that we communicate with regularly. And so we've gotten feedback from people that have said, our music has help them create friendships with other people within this community that they feel are lifelong, and that's been really cool, because you get this a lot of people messaging the page saying that our music has helped them in these dark times that they've gone through, but also saying that they've made what they feel is lifelong friends strictly because they had a mutual interest in the music. So that has been really cool and really fulfilling as well. I think a lot of this music has a lot of heart and soul. I try to, I often write very personally when it comes to Carmeria's music. And so to have people reach out and say that, it has provided comfort for them, it really is, one of the best feelings in the world, I think. You've been able to help people with, something that you feel so passionate about, and literally something that's just your creative expression. So that's been really fulfilling. Looking back on it, having spent 6 years with those songs, definitely pretty happy to move on.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But still, super proud of that work. I mean, it really is 6 years in a CD, So that'll always have a special place in my heart. And I think a big part of the Advene process was learning to write music and learning to express within those genres, and also starting to build up production skills that would eventually lead to this album. So looking back on it, very fond, very also happy to move on. But it was a very great and fulfilling experience. So overall 2 thumbs up from me.
Well, I think I got 2 thumbs up from pretty much everyone on the show for us at our end, so I'm glad a lot of people liked it as well. Just quickly before we go on to the new album, you did touch on the Coffee thing there with that community, with the Discord and that. So just give us a brief sort of rundown of that and just what people can expect there. And that community building side of things, I think, is more important than ever before when it comes to artists and anything creative. So just give us your thoughts on how it all came to be and why you chose that platform, or what people sort of can get in return for a bit of support.
Yeah, totally. So Jerry and Mishka actually were the ones, they did a sort of like a marketing course that they finished, I think, sometime last year. And there was a lot of suggestion of subscriber pages and channels and really connecting with the audience, not just kind of writing music and chucking it out there and, hoping for the best. It was that real, the connection with the fans and becoming friends and building a community around your music. And so they spoke to a few people and decided that Coffee was the best option. I think it's because it's something along the lines of they don't really take that much of a percentage when it comes to, divvying up the expenses at the end of it. And and so basically over on our Coffee page, it's about $5 a month, and there is access to stacks of content. So there's behind the scenes footage, there's unreleased demos, there's pre-production demos. People in our Coffee often get early access to releases. There's lyrical deep dives, song histories, and of course access to our private Discord channel, which has been really cool, man. I've really enjoyed that part of it, because you're getting to talk to people who are passionate about your music, and you're getting to know them, and it's been really fun. And there's a lot of silliness that goes on in there. Like you're just mates and you're just hanging out. So that's been really cool, and we've been doing that since, I think we might have started around March last year.
Cool.
So, anyone who signs up now or, whenever, has access to basically like 18 months of content, because we post weekly. So there's like a post that goes out each week. A couple of the recent ones have included like exclusive merch that's only available to the coffee community.
Nice.
And then, there's other things like, we might do polls if we've got 2 options for like album artwork or whatever. And so it's really getting the sort of fans and the community involved in certain decisions, which has been really cool as well. So, yeah, man, all around, just a good time. I originally wasn't keen on it. I was always very, no, I don't want to do subscriber service or anything like that. No one's going to want to pay for this, all that kind of stuff.
I know the feeling. Yeah.
But it's been really cool. And, props to Jerry and Mish for pushing it, because it's, it's ended up being something that I've really enjoyed. I probably wouldn't have been down for it if they hadn't pushed for it so hard. So yeah, it's been great. It's been a really cool and eye-opening experience. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad that's good. But let's get into the meat of things now. We do have a new album to talk about. If I butcher the title, I apologize. But Tragedy d'Amour, something like that.
Tragedy d'Amour. Yeah.
D'Amour. Okay. Tragedy d'Amour. I knew I'd butcher it. That's how I do things. That's due out August 23rd. It's a couple of weeks away as we sit down here to do this one. How are you feeling with this one being so close to release? You mentioned being ready to sort of do new things. How does it feel?
It feels good, man. Like, this has been something that we've been working on for 3 years. Like, I mean, I had a pretty good idea of where I wanted to take the album probably about a month after Advene came out. I had this feeling that I wanted to go into the more energetic gothic rock feel, and play into the whole romance thing. I really love that sort of dichotomy of love and tragedy. And, the past few years have seen a lot of tragedy and a lot of love. So it's like, I felt like personally in the last 3 years, I felt those real peaks and valleys. It's almost like being a concentrated version of everything you can sort of experience in life.
Yeah.
So, a few deaths in the family, a couple of near-death experiences, health issues, all that kind of stuff that sort of helps you, I guess, realize your own mortality. But then also some really amazing moments. Like, I got married to my wife a couple of years ago, and we welcomed a beautiful baby girl last year.
Wow, even better.
So there's been some real highs and some real lows, and I really wanted to, I guess, express that in album form, and it felt like the right time to do it. I pitched it to the guys, and they were pretty keen on it. So
nice.
Yeah, it was. It's been a pretty cool thing to go to do, and obviously quite therapeutic, exploring all that kind of stuff musically and lyrically, and now kind of being at that point where we're 2 weeks away from release. There's of course a lot of nerves. It is quite different to the stuff we've done before. There's a couple of songs on there that I don't even know if I class them as gothic rock or symphonic metal. It's kind of, but it's been really cool. And I think one of the things I particularly appreciate, like as an artist, is never wanting to be stagnant. I'm always looking for, it's probably the reason I was in so many bloody bands, is because I love experimenting and I love trying new things. And I think that this album does that. It's still quite, at its core, it's Carmeria, but it's kind of pushing the boundaries a bit. So there's a little bit of nerves there in terms of people who love the previous album. But I think, like overall, like I'm super proud of it. It has been kind of finished for a while. Like other than the mixing, like the recording was all completed at the start of last year.
Wow.
So yeah. So, and then it was just, I took some time off because obviously we had a baby and stuff like that. And then getting back into it was just adding those little production elements and coming to the track list with fresh ears and being able to, add little, sprinkle little bits of Stardust on it before sending it off to mixing. But yeah, man, I'm really proud of this piece of work and really can't wait to hear what people think. Little nerves, but obviously that's normal when you're releasing something new.
Yeah. Just quickly, you mentioned you'd finished recording a while ago and then you sort of went away. How did you feel because we'll get to it if time permits, but you did a lot of the production on this yourself.
Yep.
How did it feel? Did it help or hinder to sort of go away for a while, then come back with those fresh ears? Because a lot of the times when you're in it yourself, it's very hard to know when to turn off and go, okay, it's done.
Yep.
Did coming back from after a break, did you think that sort of helped that along? Or
Absolutely. So like this is my first time in the producer's chair. So yeah, debut producer here. So there was a fair bit of nerves towards the end of the recording process. I was feeling quite overwhelmed. You know, we had these desk bouncers, and I played them on repeat to death. And I just felt that there were other things that could be done, but I wasn't sure what they were. And then, you know, having about sort of 6 months off, because, you know, we had a couple of health issues with our daughter and all that kind of stuff. And that kind of extended my time away from the band. But then coming back to it with, like, I guess, a new perspective on life, and having had that much of a break from the music, as soon as I heard the recordings again, there were just, you know, ideas popping up everywhere, to the point that I was like, all right, man, like, pump the brakes, like, don't go too like crazy on this. You don't want to throw in the kitchen sink. You know, really think about which parts are necessary for the songs. And so having that time away really did help. And coming back to it with fresh ears was, I'm you know, in a way really glad that it happened, because not that I think it's made a huge difference to the songs. The songs are at their core very much the same, but there's just a couple of little additional production elements that help to bring a bit of shine to it that weren't there previously.
Nice. Well, like I said, we'll try to get to that a bit more later on. But Dave and myself both, and we've spoken about this before we went live to everyone here tonight, but there are differences, which you've mentioned, between the first album and the new album. And so what do you sort of think, how does this album feel to you compared to the debut? What do you think the biggest sort of differences are? And just, I know I agree with you at the core is still definitely Carmeria, but there are twists and turns along the way. So what do you think the biggest differences are, and how does it feel compared to the debut album?
So I think one of the biggest differences was just that there was a lot of time spent upskilling in songwriting and production, at least, you know, from my perspective. You know, Advene was written over 6 years, and so you've got, you know, some of those songs were 6 years old by the time they came out, and I think, you know, in the pre-production stage, they definitely felt like 6-year-old songs. And so, you know, there were a couple of songs that we wrote towards the end of that process, but what really helped bring all those tracks together in a cohesive album was partly, you know, I guess going over it again with 6 years of additional songwriting experience, but also Lord Tim's work as a producer. I fucking adore that guy. I learned so much off him. Had a like, you know, every sort of week I drive down to Wollongong from Sydney, which is about, you know, an hour and a half drive, to record vocals with him. And I learned so much, and he did such a great job on that album. And so that really was, you know, a great experience. And the album does have that Lord Tim flair. Like, you know, I certainly hear similarities, you know, with the Lord stuff and the other bands that he's produced, and the Carmeria stuff, just in terms of sounds and tones and stuff like that. So the difference with Tragedy d'Amour, obviously, is that it's, you know, I'm producing it. So I've got my own, I guess, preferences when it comes to arranging and tones and mixes and stuff like that. So there is that element. There's also, I guess, you know, expanding my personal horizons as a songwriter, you know, bringing in different influences. There were certain influences that, you know, I had written songs for Advene that didn't really come to fruition because they just didn't feel right at the time. But with this album, they do. So, for instance, like, one of the biggest influences for the writing, I suppose, on this album was like hymn. You know, I think there's a fair bit of hymn in this record, or at least, you know, that influence. And delving into that more, that sort of more fun gothic rock, romantic vibe. Whereas, you know, Advene was quite, like, thematically, it was quite grim. Like, it was quite dark. It was quite depressive. All those songs were written through a pretty rough stage in my life, and so I think they reflect that that period. Whereas, like, I think, as I was saying before, the last 3 years, completely different experience. Yeah, lots of highs, lots of lows, and so combining that into this new album just brings a different energy. I'm in a different stage of my life. I'm a lot older, and yeah, I feel like that probably comes across in the songwriting, arranging, and production of the album.
Yep.
So yeah, and I think there wasn't really this intention to stray from Advene per se, but it kind of just happened naturally. It was, these are the songs I'm writing at the moment, and this is the stuff that other people are writing, and okay, there's kind of like a congruence here. Let's go down this path of bringing in a more like lovelorn, energetic rock feel. So I think that's probably the main differences between the last album and this one.
Yep. It's interesting you mentioned that sort of stuff, because I picked up on, like, when you've got a few things where you sign off on posts where it's Carpe Noctem, for example. Yes, I think I've got it close to correct there.
Yeah.
Which, if I'm correct, there's something along the lines of Seize the Night, which is obviously a different take on things. But yeah, the themes of love and loss were prevalent, definitely in the first album. And so does that, in this world of music, there's always going to be some of that, but what are the sort of bigger inspirations for you lyrically? Are they personal things or observational, or, is it just
a bit of both, really. Yeah, there really is that kind of, probably a 50-50 split. Mainly, so personally writing from, like, a lot of, personal experiences of love and loss, but observing as well, seeing what other friends have gone through, family members, all that kind of stuff, and trying to, capture those emotions and those feelings and those experiences with lyrics. And it was quite a natural process. I didn't feel, on the last album too, like, I didn't feel like any of these lyrics were forced. I didn't feel like I was, forcing a story out of these songs. It sort of came quite naturally, and I think, as a lyricist, just putting myself in that state of, reflecting what I want to write about, it does sort of just come quite naturally when I'm listening to the music. I don't know, it sounds quite pretentious, but I sort of feel like
it's the real deal, though. Yeah, like it does.
But when I'm sort of listening to a song, often the words will just come to me. I sort of rarely feel like I have to sit down and try to force something out. I don't keep a lyric book. I'd love to. I'd love to just sort of sit down and, write poetry and stuff like that. But lyrics just don't really come to me like that. I have to have music to be able to write lyrics. So, I know it sounds a bit dopey, but that's kind of my process. Yeah. So the inspiration, like, dude, it sounds so cheesy, but the inspiration for the lyrics was the music, and obviously personal experiences.
Nicely done. That's cool. Now, I just want to touch on some of the musical things in the album, so having heard it today before we get down to this one. Now, you've mentioned more energetic, upbeat feel to a lot of the album. That's definitely present. I thought it was more attack. In some respects, it's a bit more aggressive than the debut album was as well. But you've also done other things too, like you got some acoustic guitar on the track Thorns. There's, Leading the Lyre is something unlike anything else that you've done before. Very cool track. But, that evolution over time, you're a different person, obviously, through, going from the first album to the second album and all those things. But was the musical direction on this one, aside from the lyrics before, was that a conscious shift, or was that, again, more organic in the way that the music in this had a different sort of flavour and feel overall?
It was quite organic. By the time we'd sort of sat down to work out, the track list, like probably about 6 or 7 of the songs had already been written. They were demos sitting in this. We sat down and had this like a pre-production week back in 2022, and there was about sort of 30 demos to choose from. So there was like songs that were completely written. There were songs that might have just been like a chord chart and a little bit of instrumentation. There were some that were just like motifs. And so we sort of sat down and we had this template that we'd built that was, in playing with the whole theme of love and loss and, blah, 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 that we wanted each song to have a partner, basically, right? So we sort of split the songs into 5 categories, and there were going to be 2 songs per category. So, you've got your heavy songs, you've got your singles. There were songs that were other, so like Leading the Liar and stuff like that. And then there were, the ballads and all that kind of stuff. So, so we kind of had this idea of where the songs should slot in the overall track list. And building that template certainly helped to narrow down the choices, because obviously you're going into a pre-production week with like 30 complete and incomplete demos, and you're kind of trying to piece together like a cohesive piece, like body of work. And so building that template really helped. And we literally just sort of chose the songs. And we chose 9. And so we sort of like sat there working on the red, like we each sort of had our sort of like studio setups there. We brought them up from home and sat there and just worked for like a week straight, just refining parts of the songs. I was sort of recording vocals and rearranging instrumentation, all that kind of stuff. And that was a really cool experience, because like we hadn't, we're a band that is quite online, like collaboratively. So we all live in different areas across New South Wales, and so we use the online medium a lot. We're not in the studio, in the rehearsal room jamming songs. That's just not how we write. A lot of us have our own home studios, and that's kind of where we come across with ideas, and then we'll send it across the net and work on it and tweak stuff. And so having a week together was a really cool experience. It was great because we don't hang out all that often. And so just having a week together working on music was really cool. And it was really like a good bonding experience. But funnily enough, we left that with 9 songs, and then I sort of was going through my list of demos at home, and I was like, no. I'm like, fuck it, I'm just going to write a new song. And that was Leading the Liar, funnily enough.
Okay. Yeah.
So put that together, and I was like, oh, what do you guys think of this? And it's like, slap it in. It can be like one of the other category songs.
I was about to say, you had pairs for everything, and then you settled on 9, so it's going to be interesting to see what happened, how that played out, but you explain that now.
Yeah. So that's kind of it. But it did feel like quite a, organic experience, because a lot of the material was already there, and it was just about sorting it and, picking the best fit for like telling this story of love and loss.
Yep. Cool. And so when you mentioned them, when you've got the producer's hat on for this one as well, so was a lot of the recording done in individual home studios and then sent to you to mix, or how did that? I pretty much had my sessions all ready to go, and I literally just sent Emma and Jerry the guitar parts. They recorded at their own home studio, sent it back to me, and then Jerry sort of wrote and sent over his solos and stuff like that, and then I went through everything, made a couple of minor tweaks where and cleaned up the tracks, and then I sent it off to Voya for mixing. Which is the link to Bad Man Born I mentioned at the top of the interview there with Voya, and Voya does great things too, so he's a very talented individual as well. Just on the album again now, what do you think was the biggest challenge in putting it all together this way? Because there is distance involved and all those things. What do you think was the biggest challenge for you guys in putting this whole thing together?
Probably literally just self-doubt and fatigue. Like, as a producer and sitting in the producer's chair for the first time, when I sort of opted to take on that position, I was feeling pretty comfortable and confident. Like, I'd written and arranged a lot of demos at that point, and I was like, oh yeah, this should be pretty easy and straightforward. But like, fuck man, like doing an album is such a big undertaking, and there were times where I was thinking, like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I just want to be a songwriter, man, like, and a singer. Like, what am I fucking doing with all this shit? But I ended up really loving the process. But towards the end of it was quite draining and quite fatiguing, and I was feeling quite burnt out. there was a lot of external things going on that were sort of affecting my ability to complete the album. And so, finding that energy to just push through and get it done was particularly challenging. So I think, really just like sort of self-doubt and fatigue, a bit of burnout rolling through was probably the biggest challenge. Because the whole album was pretty much done, but it was just, it needed these additional production elements. Everything needed to be cleaned up for mixing. And I think it was just that end process that was quite daunting. It's like, it's that final step that you need to take to get the ball rolling, to get it finished. But, coming back after a break definitely helped that. So, yeah.
Well, for the record, from me listening to it today, you've done an outstanding job. So be very proud. Get rid of the self-doubt. You've done a very, very good job. Now, you don't often play live. You do play live, but it's not a regular touring thing. Do you have plans, or are you hoping to tour and promote this album on the live circuit side of things?
Yes. So we're currently in talks with 2 other bands about doing a triple album tour. It'll predominantly just be the East Coast, but it's in the process of being finalised now. And so if all goes ahead, it'll be before the end of the year.
Nice. And do you have any hope to get it overseas, or is that a bridge too far at the moment for you guys?
Yeah, of course, man. Like, the idea of playing overseas is always the dream. It's one of the things that gets you into being a muso and being in a band, is that idea of touring the world kind of thing. I wouldn't say it's on the cards at the moment, but it's certainly a goal of ours. Like, but at the moment, it's really just focusing on what we can afford to do.
There's a real world aspect of things.
But hopefully one day.
Just go back onto the album. There is a song that I want to touch on in particular, which is called Burning Ships. Now, is that Emma doing vocals, or am I? It is. Okay. That, again, is different for you guys. What was the decision behind that?
Emma's an incredible singer. Like, she really is, a wonderful vocalist, and she's got her own solo project. She released like an acoustic EP not too long ago. The project name is just EM. Okay. And she played it for me before it was released, during the pre-production weekend, actually, and pre-production week, sorry. And I just fell in love with it. I was like, fuck, like, we need to have you singing on this album somewhere. Cool. And there is a couple of parts, like she sings in the call and response bit in the chorus of Living the Liar. She sings the second half of the chorus in 1,000 Winter Rains. She's also in the choir, like the backing choirs. So her and Mish are actually doubling my voice in the backing choirs. So she's sort of all over the album. But I had this demo, which was Burning Ships, basically, and as an instrumental demo, and I wasn't coming up with anything that I liked. I recorded probably 3 different melodies for it, and it just didn't feel, I didn't think it was any good. And so I hit Em up and I was like, look, I've got this track. I think it's going to be really cool for the album. How do you feel about like writing a melody and lyrics for it? And she was pretty keen on the idea, and she sent back like a demo of what she was thinking, and I was like, fuck, yeah, absolutely, that's it. And so, I think, she's got such a great voice, and having that, that female color, it's such an advantage, I feel, especially when you've got a really good singer doing it. So that was the reason behind, giving her own lead track on the album, and also just to provide, a bit of difference, like, like when you've got someone else in the band who can sing, you might as well use it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I thought it was a really nice touch on the album. That, like, there's a few interesting moments in there, which I think that, I know you're a bit nervy, like as you expect about, releasing a new album to the world and people and the response you're going to get to the different elements of things. But for me, listening to it, like I said, I think everything here flows and fits really, really well. So I loved the growth and the direction it all took. So very well
Oh, thanks, man.
Oh, good. Now, let's touch on the two singles you've released so far from the album. You've got 1,000 Winter Rains and also just released Immortal, which also has a video to go with it currently. What made you, we touched on the background things where every song has a pair, and obviously these are the singles. I'm going to assume these are that pairing there. But what was it about those songs that made them fit into that category and made you release them as singles prior to the album release?
Yeah, so look, I was pretty strong on wanting 1,000 Winter Rains to be one of the singles. That's, sort of one of my babies, and I wrote it a couple of years ago, and I felt the chorus was so strong, and I think releasing a single that featured M as a vocalist, I think was really good, and the idea of choosing 1,000 Winter Rains for a single was because it really does have a bit of the whole album in it. There's that sort of, I guess, goth rocky verse. There's the heaviness in the growls for the pre-chorus, and then there's the sort of big explosive chorus with lots of vocal layers and stuff like that. And there's also a breakdown and a quiet passage. And so, if we were to encapsulate, I guess, the whole album in one song, 1,000 Winter Rains was a pretty good choice for that purpose. And yeah, I think that was with the singles. It was really about like, okay, so this album is about love and loss. Let's choose a song that addresses one of each. You know what I mean? So it's like 1,000 Winter Rains is about grief and mourning. So that takes you down the dark path of the album, and then Immortal's obviously, it's about eternal love. It's this, happy poppy rock track, and so that contrast of the two. As examples of an album that explores the dichotomy of love and tragedy. It really was about choosing two singles that were good representations of the album and addressed each of the themes. So, yeah, that was the thought process behind choosing them.
Yep. Cool. Now, you did the video for Immortal, which was released yesterday, as we sit here to do that one. You've also got a video, I believe, coming for 1,000 Winter Rains. So tell us a bit about putting those together, because videos are also challenging. I think you did some of the editing or production on this side of things as well. Is that correct?
So Mish and I produced and directed the clips. And we worked with a cinematographer, filmographer, editor called Jack Pallet, and she was fucking brilliant, like good to work with, an absolute breeze. We developed this brief and, organised location and everything like that, sent it to her, and she just got it, and she just got us. Like, there's a fair bit of silliness in this band that she sort of caught on to pretty early.
Nice.
And so it was really cool, even just hanging out like as mates. And so and we filmed it up at a place called Tanilba House in Tanilba Bay, which funnily enough was the venue that I got married in. And so my auntie actually owns it, and so that's one of the reasons we were able to get married there, and film a video clip there, and it's a heritage house, and it's absolutely beautiful. And the property has so many cool locations and backdrops for a film clip, that it was such a versatile space. And the idea was to let's shoot Immortal all inside. It's quite intimate, and it kind of plays into that whole, I guess, cheesy love. Let's be a bit silly with this one, 1,000 Winter Rains, the video clip, I can't wait to see. We haven't got it back yet. We're meant to be getting a cut of it on Monday, but that was all shot outside, and very cold, very isolated feel to that one. I think in terms of being able to shoot at a location that really embodies both sides of those singles, super cool. And, we were really lucky to be able to get that opportunity.
Nice. All right, keeping an eye on time, I do want to get a few other questions in here before we get out of here. So just, you did a crowdfunding campaign, which when you read up on you guys doing this one, you did have, there's some posts you guys put out about just how grueling and intense it was, and a lot of self-doubt goes into these things, and I fully understand that. So what was it like to one, start it off with all that doubt in mind, and then sort of work your way through to get into nearly actually raising the full amount at the end of the day, which is quite a feather in your cap as well. So how did that's a lot of emotion to process through the duration of doing it. How did it all sort of go for you guys?
Yeah, look, it was super daunting. I mean, when you sort of take on these, these avenues of like raising funds for albums and stuff, it always feels super uncomfortable. Like, I don't think anyone goes into it, going, oh, fuck yeah, we're going to get heaps of money, unless, of course, you're a bit of a grifter or something. But as a band, like, the idea of, sticking up a crowdfunder, it always sat pretty uncomfortable for me.
Yeah.
And kudos to Jerry and Mish. They did so much work on, like figuring it all out and doing the logistics and everything like that. And they had a couple of consultations with a bunch of people who really advocated for the idea of a crowdfunding campaign as a way of getting your music out. And, up until that point, we'd been a completely self-funded band, and like putting together, like, albums cost like tens of thousands of dollars to put together. Yeah. It really is such an expensive process, and it's very much like, you're doing this as a labor of love, but it's so draining on the bank account. Like, and like bands really are just bottomless pits, and you're constantly fishing for your paycheck so you can put more into getting your art out there. And so, I think it was just that point, it's like, all right, we've done the whole, cut your teeth, be the starving artist thing for a long time. It's like, man, I don't really want to do that in my 30s. Like, and there's, there was so much support from, the fan base and the community that we've sort of managed to wrangle together, that they were super open and engaged about the idea. And so, Mish and Jerry set it all up. They kind of did a bunch of like research into what people actually wanted from the band, like what kind of merch items and experiences they wanted. They really put their work into like creating a campaign that would give people what they want in return for their money. It's not just like a donation. It's more of a pre-order, I guess you could say, because I think we had like, like within the packages, there was like access to the album a week before it drops. There's physical signed albums, shirts, like custom made Carmeria pendants, tickets to like a listening party that we're actually doing on Sunday. Nice. So it's like 2 weeks before the album comes out, you'll sit in like with us in a Zoom call, and we listen to the whole album, talk about it. So a lot of stuff like that, which people found, interesting enough to purchase packages. And I think we ended up getting to about 85% of our goal, which was phenomenal. Like I think we had about a $10,000 goal. And we'd sort of, we kind of tallied up the budget to get this album out and worked out how much we'd put in ourselves through, like the mixing and the artwork and all that kind of stuff. And it roughly ended up being about the same. So we're like, all right, we put in 10 grand. Like, should we sort the other 10 grand somewhere else? And the fact that we nearly got there was incredible. And it's really helped speed things along. Like, I think if we didn't have that support, this album would have probably taken another 6 months to a year to come out, and that would have just been an additional financial drain on us, of course, as well. Super grateful that people were that engaged and willing to support the band in that way.
Well, it's a credit to you all, to be honest, in the work you've done, and it's so well done on that front, and it shows you that you do have that fan base that's engaged and loving what you're doing. So that in itself is worth remembering, hanging on to. On that, we did touch on prior to going live to people that I know for a fact there's more in the works that have come out of this. So there's a follow-up EP, and you've already sort of started some work on album number 3 as well. So what can you tell people about those two things? Before even this album comes out, but we're getting the cart before the horse. But what can you tell people?
Yeah. So through the crowdfunding campaign, we announced that there would be a free upgrade of like a mini EP. So it's 3 acoustic songs. I'm actually mixing that one as well, so that'll be my mixing debut.
Nice. Cool.
But there was this kind of idea of just like giving people like more of an option, like, or more of an incentive to contribute to the crowdfunding campaign, and also like so it's called Trinity, and it's 3 songs, one cover, one new original and one acoustic version of a previously released song. And we talked about, like, Jerry and I have been talking about doing the particular cover probably since I joined the band.
Wow.
Yeah. So
you're finally going to get there.
Hey?
It's only taken a decade. You're going to get there at last.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Look, you need a bit of patience, but you'll get there eventually. I won't spoil what it is, but I will say that it is a Camelot cover. So
okay, cool.
Do with that what you will. And then there's this new original I wrote actually for my daughter. And that was such a wonderful experience. Really, really loved writing that song. And then the third one is an acoustic rendition of one of our earliest singles. So that'll be really cool to get out. I've already sort of, like, it's pretty much complete. I'm just waiting on Em and Jerry to record their guitar parts and send them through, and then I'll just finalize mixing it and send it off to mastering. But the people who contributed to the crowdfunding campaign will be getting that in probably November, and then it'll actually release officially around January.
Yep.
So that'll be really cool, and that'll at least give us like a 2025 release, which is kind of cool, especially because people have been waiting 3 years since we've done anything else. And then as for album 3, I've got a pretty good idea of where to take it. Had a chat to Mish about it as well. He's pretty keen on it. There's a few demos floating around. I think Mish has got about 3 that he's sort of put together over the last 6 months, and I've got about sort of 7 or 8 just sitting, on the old computer. But I think that the concept for it and the sound for it, I think it'll be really cool, and I'll probably rework some of those demos to fit that sound. But the next 6 to 12 months will probably be about putting that together. I think the goal now that our process is streamlined, like obviously, first album took 6 years, a lot of learning involved in that. Second album,
well, you're halving the time. So
so hopefully we can get like a third album out soon. Like, I think it would be really cool to have it out within a 2-year time frame. So starting the process on that probably as soon as this one comes, like as soon as Tragedy Tomorrow comes out, would be a good idea. I don't know, I might need a bit of breathing space, but I think there is definitely stuff in the works for that. So I think that'll be really exciting, and that may involve another direction, but good. We'll see. It really depends. There is I think the brilliant thing about songwriting is you're always learning new things and being influenced, gaining new influences and stuff like that. And I personally really enjoy playing into that. But I think there is an idea there for the third album.
Nice. All right, well, we are getting toward the end. I got a few fun ones, which I know Dave sent through to you earlier on, which we'll get to those ones in a second. But before we do hit onto those sort of closing parts there, it's an open mic sort of session now. So is there anything you want to, if you think we have missed something in the interview, but also anything you want to say to the audience or to your fans or anything like that, if it's just an open moment for you to say whatever you want to for anyone watching this one?
No, I think we've pretty much covered most of it. Obviously, absolutely appreciate all the support that we get from people. I did see the review of 1,000 Winter Rains that you guys did yesterday.
Nice.
On Thursday night, and fuck, man, I was walking around with the biggest, dumbest smile on my face all afternoon yesterday. I was pumped, dude. Like, nice. I was so happy. So thanks so much for doing that, man.
Most welcome. We say what we mean, so it's legit.
Yeah.
If you watch the rest of the stuff, we'll be happy to throw criticism where it fits as well. So if it gets good thoughts,
completely open to it, man. Like, if you think a song on the album is shit, tell me, dude. Because we try to welcome as much criticism and love as possible. You need to have all things in balance after all. Really looking forward to hearing Dave's review of the album. I know he's sent him an advance copy. And he said he loved it, so I think that'll be a little bit of that might be a bit of an ego stroke.
I think he'll be happy with his thoughts. He hasn't told me everything he's going to say yet, but I know that he's very, very happy, so don't worry.
Oh, fantastic. That's wonderful.
We've been pushing him to listen to it, so I know he loves it.
Yeah, brilliant. No, fantastic, man.
Yeah. And like I said, for the record, I listened to both albums back to back today, getting ready for this interview, and I think I loved Advene, but this one I think is over the top of that one by a bit of a margin too. I think you really knocked it out of the park personally, but we'll get to that in due course. All right, some fun ones now. That I'm trying to make a regular thing when we do interviews going forward for a bit now. So I want to get trying to sort of share the love a little bit. Going back to the community building side of things we touched on earlier tonight, I think it's important to sort of recognize other bands around you as well. So is there another band that sort of really impressed you in 2024? It can be local if possible, but if not, then international, whatever else. Sort of what's a band that sort of got your attention this year?
Dude, like if I'm being completely honest, I've been away from the sort of local scene for a while. Like I haven't really, having a baby and everything like that.
Yeah, exactly.
And, my wife and I have moved into the Blue Mountains, so we're not really getting out into and seeing gigs as much as we used to. But a band that probably Audio Rain, man. That single they brought out, Crown. I really enjoyed that, and they're such a cool band, dude. And we've seen in Bad Moon Born particularly a couple of the Sydney shows that we've been put on of international artists. They've been put on, I think, the Adelaide leg. And so I kept seeing their name pop up, and I was like, man, I've got to check them out. And then I heard that song Crown earlier in the year, and I was just like, fuck, this is a really good rock song, man. I really enjoy that. So then went and listened to the album, and love it. Really cool.
Awesome. So does that then follow on to the next question is, what's a release that's already impressed you or that you're looking forward to in 2024?
Yeah, definitely Audio Rain's new album, Orpheus Omega's new album.
That is good.
Yeah. So definitely that. And Chris is just such a cool dude, man. He's such a nice guy.
One of the best going around. Yep.
Yeah, and then the one I'm most looking forward to, dude, fucking Time 2, Winter Sun.
Nice. Yep.
Yeah. So, man, I've been a Winter Sun fan for fucking 15 years, and more than that probably now. And so the fact that Time 2 is finally seeing the light of day, and it's being released a week after our album or something like that. So I'm just hanging for that, man. I can't wait.
Yeah.
It's been too long between records for those guys.
You're not the only one. There's a few people pumped about that one coming up. So that's going to go very well, I think. All right, final fun one here. What is the sort of bucket list artist or a band that you'd not even necessarily like to share the stage with, but if that is the thing, but just there's always something you want to meet, talk to, play with. What's a bucket list artist or band that is just there that you want to tick off?
Dude, for me, probably Camelot.
Yep.
Yeah, Camelot, I'd say that they're the band that really got me into this genre. So, been listening to them since I was 13. The Roy Khan era was a big influence for me getting into this style of singing. I think the song Abandoned by Camelot was the reason that I decided to take classical vocal lessons, you know what I mean? So I was one day I want to do a cover of that, one day I want to sing that.
That's cool.
and then I ended up doing 2 years of vocal lessons back when I was in my early 20s. And that really helped to, I guess, propel me into this genre. And it was just, I adore that band. The new stuff as well, Tommy Karavik, one of my favorite vocalists of all time as well. So they would be, a band that I'd love to meet, love to play alongside, whatever. And then another band, well, obviously they're not around anymore, but Him, of course, or Billy Vallow. And
Billy.
So obviously he came out recently. We were in talks to support that tour. Didn't come to fruition, unfortunately, but we were one of the picks. So so close, but
it's always
who knows what the future holds. I think I read somewhere that he said he was done with that project, but I don't know if he ever decides to come back. I don't know, maybe.
I get the feeling he's pretty creative. I wouldn't put a full stop on him doing anything just yet. I think he'll do something in the future. But yeah, no, that about sort of gets us to time. We've gone a little bit over what I thought we'd go to, but I don't want to go stretching things too far. I'm mindful of everyone's time and their lives and everything going on as well. But I just wanted to say personally, like I said, congrats on the new album. I think it's a big step up. We love the debut. I personally think this is better. So I think you've done a great job with this one, and just wanted to say congrats also on marriage, baby, all those things. It's a big life-changing few years for you. And also on the personal side of things, you've been open on other battles in your life and overcoming those as well. So congrats on the 3 years sobriety as well, and everything else. Four now, is it? Wow, that's going back a while.
Thanks so much, dude.
But all those things matter, and I think it's important to acknowledge the impact of the person, not just the music as well. So I don't know you that well, obviously, but you always watch people from afar and you see their journey, and so it's been a pleasure to see you sort of kicking goals as you go through things. So congrats on all those things, as well as the brand new album. And from all of us at the show to you and the rest of the band, all the best on everything coming up for you guys in the future as well.
Wonderful. Thanks so much for all that, man. I really appreciate it. That's I'll be walking away from this interview with a big dumb smile on my face, I'm sure.
We aim to please, but it's always honest and genuine. So with that said, we'll say farewell to the Patreon people that are watching. I'll get you hanging around for a few minutes more after this. But for now, thank you so much for your time, and good luck with everything coming up.
No worries. Thanks so much, man.
Alrighty, hopefully you all enjoyed that one, and these interviews will be released in full online very soon, but for now, hopefully you enjoyed that one with Jordan from Carmeria. Up next, though, we're going to Melbourne, and we're going to chat to Struddy and Lee from TDT, also known as the Dreadful Tides. This interview covers a lot of ground, just like the last one, but this one focuses on the special upcoming EP launch, which is a great little thing they've got coming up, so make sure you get around that, and a whole lot more as usual. So for now, let's just keep things rolling. Hopefully you're enjoying tonight's special presentation, but now it's over to our interview with TDT. Check it out.
Hi there all. I'm sitting here for the first time ever on the Hard Rock Show talking to a couple of the guys from the Dreadful Tides out of Melbourne. How are you both?
Good, man. Good.
Man.
How are you going?
Good, thank you guys. All right, so this is the stock standard part here where we're going to get you guys to introduce yourselves and your role within the band.
Do you want to go first, Strud?
Yeah, I'm Struddy. I'm the guitar player, the good looks, the funny guy. No, I'm the guitar player in the band, the long-haired dude, as some say, and Wes, which is our bass player's twin brother.
And I'm Leland, known as Lee. So I'm the drummer of the band, and that's pretty much it. So
He hits things.
Yeah.
For good cause. Yeah. All right. So just on that one, the band formed, if I'm correct going through your bio, in 2021 is when you first sort of came on to, that's when you first released your first single anyway. I believe it was 21, and I don't know how long before that you formed, but just sort of give us a brief history of the band, sort of 90-second to 2-minute sort of brief history of the band and you know, from then to now kind of thing.
So it all started from a Facebook post, funnily enough. We're all kind of spaced out. So I'm in Shepparton, Lee's out in Doreen, and I just happened to put out a post, and kind of Lee jumped on it and said, look, let's get in a room together and try something out, which we did, and one rehearsal turned to another, and we had a bass player at the time, and then COVID kind of hit, so then it was really just a lot of going back and forth via email and Facebook and stuff like that, which I do feel it was a good thing for us, because I feel that that's how we learnt together. So while people were adapting to that, we were already in that kind of zone. Yep. From there, we found a singer, recorded a couple of songs and got them out during COVID. And then, we've had a couple of lineup changes, and at the moment there's myself, Lee, Jimmy, which is our new vocalist, and Wes, and we couldn't be happier. We've played a few gigs together, released some cool songs, and every time we get in a room together or something like this, we just have a bit of fun, which is, awesome.
That's what I like to hear. That's the good thing about it. It's cool because we've got a bit of a sneaky little exclusive coming up in a second. But so far, you've released 7 singles over the history of the band. That's actually a pretty good effort since 2021, and you've gone and bang, 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 bang. It's been pretty consistent all the way through. But what's your thinking behind doing the 7 singles release before getting into anything like an EP or an album or anything like that? Is there a particular strategy, or was it just what was convenient at the time, or what was your thinking behind that?
So what we really found is this day and age, you know, obviously streaming's a big thing, and most guys will get a single, they'll put it into a playlist, or they'll listen to an album, they'll find their favorite song or two, they go into a few playlists, and it's not as common to sort of go back and listen to the whole album. Well, I think for us musicians, it's a big thing to go back and listen to an album from A to Z. But for the general public these days, what we actually found is, look, we're very fortunate enough to work with Ricky Ray from Light Hill Sound Studios. So, you know, we tried to find the best person that suited us to record, and we spend a lot of time and effort on it on our tracks, even, you know, going back for singular listen days and stuff. So for us, because we can put that little bit of extra time and money into making it those little 1%ers, getting the most out of every song and just making sure that every song that deserves the traction is getting the traction for as long as it can. It's kind of really helped us to stay relevant and have that continued release, rather than sort of drop an album, do a tour, then we need to go back and write a whole nother album now and start working on the next one. For us, it's always just been a constant thing. So we actually go to the studio pretty much all year, and we space it out, so it's always fun when we go. There's no real rushes to it, but we just get the most out of every track.
No, that's good. I completely agree with that line of thinking. It makes a lot of sense. But on that, we do have something special coming up, which you let me in on before we started this. So tell the audience at large what I know now.
All right. So as of yesterday, we did our last day with Ricky in the studio, and we have our EP coming. And we're same thing. We like to release as we go. So there's a couple of tracks that are already out that are going to be featured on the EP. And then so there'll be 3 more that come out on the EP that we haven't heard yet. The whole thing there was, again, the same thing. We'll get the most out of these ones, and then we'll release. So we have set a release date. We're going to have our first show in Melbourne on the 1st of December, which is a Sunday. So most of us are usually hungover on that day. But we decided that we wanted to do something a bit special. So, again, as you said earlier on, it's about interacting with the fans and making them a part of it. You know, one big thing that we do a lot is really refer to the TDT fan. And that's been a big thing for us since the start is, you know, the amount of people that have actually helped us behind the scenes, and, you know, it would let it be just, you know, mates that have heard our songs and given us pointers, or as we said, like Ricky Ray, you know, working with us, and even our photographers and stuff like that. They're guys that we've had come on board that have stuck around. So what we're actually going to do is something completely different for us. We're going to do a special show that'll go from 1 till 4 p.m. And it's going to be around that sort of $30 mark. $30 to $40 will be tickets for the show. What we're going to do is play all the original release songs first, and then we're going to do a live sort of Q&A and sort of talk, do a bit of a throw out to a heap of people that we like, and then we're going to turn around and play the EP in full to finalise it. So a very intimate, small setting. The venue, we're actually going to do it at Musicland out the back in
nice.
Beebs Bar. Again, nice little small venue. How we're going to run it is it's going to be done as a pre-sale. So pre-sales will go on sale the 5th of September, which is next Wednesday. So something very special. And from there, they're going to run to the 30th of October, which is a bit of time before the gig. But it's because the guys are going to get an individual number and signed EP. Yep. They are going to get a special poster for the event as well. They will get some raffle tickets, which will go towards a signed Les Paul copy or a signed snare drum. We've got a local brewery that's given us a few slabs to go away, as well as Shot by Sladen's Photography are going to donate a photography session for a band or a car shoot or a family as well. So we're very fortunate that these guys, as we said, it's all about family and people helping us out. So these guys wanted to come on board and offered to help us in different ways. So we thought this was a good way to do it. The kicker of it, though, and why the pre-sale has to finish early is if you buy your ticket to this show, we are going to print your name as a thank you on the inside of the EP cover. So you will be part of the TDT family forever on our very first EP. So as we said, very intimate little session, something that we want to do to just include everyone and, make it not just about us, but about everyone.
Nice. That is actually very impressive. So I hope that sounds really cool. So people, if you're watching this, make sure you get involved in this, because not many bands are doing things that in depth. So that sounds absolutely fantastic. So all the best with that one, genuinely. And I'm stoked that we get to be the ones to share it with people for the first time, which is going to be very, very cool. So thank you.
That's all right.
As well.
We'll put everything up on Facebook and Instagram across our socials, but tickets will be available through our website. So that's where the tickets will be sold from. So we just got to make sure that everyone keeps looking out, and they'll see something pretty special pop up soon.
Nice. Very, very cool. Well, we'll make sure we share that sort of stuff as well as Sir Kips and Luke. We'll try and give you a chop out in that regard too.
Thanks, man.
No, all good. Now, going back to the songs you have released so far, the 7 singles you have done sort of cover off a fair bit of ground, musically speaking. Like, they're not all the same tracks. So how important to you guys is that sort of exploration and expansion of your sound? Because you talk about sort of doing things new and trying to put a new spin on things in your bio and that. So sort of how important is that to be, constantly exploring and growing and pushing the boundaries of what you guys are capable of?
Look, it's pretty important, but I also feel, my personal opinion, we just love what we do. Like, I feel if you have fun and if people enjoy it and you're having fun, it's a bonus. But even if people don't like it and you're still having fun, who cares? But I feel what works for us is, as everyone, you all have different inspirations, but I feel we all look up to the same kind of era of music, I would say. And that's the good stuff, really. That old stuff's the good stuff. So I don't know why everyone's transitioned from playing that stuff. So we've kind of just done that, put our own little interpretation on things, and it just happens to work for us. I remember one of the biggest compliments we've ever gotten was they couldn't pinpoint who we sounded like. And we were kind of floored with that, going, well, that's great. Because obviously, like we said, we all have inspirations and influences and stuff like that, but to be kind of known as your own artist or someone to say that's a pretty big thing for me. So,
and I think if I could add to that too, as much as we really like that same base of musicians from your Black Sabbath, your Ozzy Osbourne, Kiss, and we then go into like your Audio Slaves and your Pearl Jams and everything like that. We all just enjoy slightly different stuff at the same time. So, Wes is our jazz bass player, really. Like that's sort of where he cut his teeth, and me myself, I listen to a lot of classical music as well, so one day I'll be listening to some rock music and then I'll listen to some classical. So the way that we sort of piece our tracks together a lot of times is, Struddy will write some awesome riffs and he'll sort of send them to me. And then a good example is our next single that's going to come out with the EP, actually. It was 2 minutes 10 worth of riffs. And I actually remember that to this day. It was 2 minutes 10 and he's like, just go through and see if there's anything cool in here. And I sat there and it was only about an hour, I think. It wasn't actually that long. And then I sent him back 3 minutes 50 worth of the song and went, what do you think about this? And it just fell together. And the whole idea with our writing style is and most people will pick up on it, we have a lot of highs, we have a lot of lows. It's all about a journey. We want guys to sort of go, oh, that's a bit different. I haven't sort of, oh, where are they going? Oh, they're going over there. That's cool. But in a nice way that ends up bringing itself back around on itself. So those little side influences and stuff really help us, as Struddy said, to work together and all throw a little bit in. And, we'll actually build a track and then slightly break it down and then rebuild it. And then we get in the studio with Ricky and he'll go, no, we can do more, boys. We can do more. Give me more. Yeah. So it's very much a whole team effort overall. And then the end product is what we put out. So...
No, that works well. It's cool. We'll get on to Ricky Ray a little bit later on in my question flow here, but no, I do admire his work from afar. He's very, very good at what he does as well. And what you're talking about there is obviously you guys being very, very interested in exploring your own craft. Being your own band is very important, but that actually dovetails nice into the first question from Jolie, one of our Patreon supporters. Like, you've probably kind of already answered, but to try and get a bit more specific here, she's just gone here. Dreadful Tides have, Black Sabbath, Southern rock influences and other of things in there which you guys have listed on your sounds like on your Triple J Unearth page as well, that kind of stuff there. So those ones are there. But just individually for you both, what are some of your personal influences that you would sort of, go to if someone had to put you, nail your flag to the mast kind of thing? What sort of influences you as an individual? Where would you go with that?
For me, I'll speak more as guitar players, not so much bands.
Yep.
I kind of go to my main three, which is Angus Young, Zach Wilde, and Randy Rhoads. They're my three. The reason being is I feel that they're like Angus Young, for example, is in a band that's released the same album 15 times, as they say, 16 times.
Yeah.
But they're still doing it well. Randy Rhoads, and look, don't get me wrong, Van Halen was obviously incredible, one of the greatest. But for me, Randy Rhoads stands out a bit more because I like the way that he brings that classical influence in and created his own sound with that. And I mean, Zach Wilde's kind of the mixed hybrid between them, does the classic rock stuff, but brings in the Randy stuff too. So they're my three.
Yeah, cool.
For me, so I first cut my teeth pretty young on the drums when I started getting into it. So what was mine? The first song I proper played was we're playing some Deep Purple. So I recut my teeth, So things like Deep Purple, Batman Turner Overdrive, some of that real early kind of stuff. And then we move into, I'm a massive Kiss fan. I'm a massive Motley Crue fan.
Yep.
I do, as I said, a lot of classical and stuff as well. I really enjoy that. But then I listen to a lot of Beatles and stuff as well. Like,
cool. Yep.
And even into like Jeff Healey and Eric Clapton and stuff. I got a very big blues influence. Then obviously, Led Zeppelin and stuff. So for me, it's just kind of everywhere. And whatever I'm feeling on the day, I just go, that's what we're gonna do.
It's good, man. Diversity is, it's like spices. You got to have it in your food. You got to have it in different variety in your listening. So it's all good. Just because we are sort of in this space here a little bit, just come back a couple of songs ago, you covered the Black Sabbath classic NIB, which is an interesting song choice in and of itself. But what made you settle on that song to be the cover? But also, how did you get to that particular rearrangement? Because the way you rearranged the song was really interesting as well. So how did you sort of get to that point? Now I've got you. We talked about it on a live stream. It's like, now I've got you. I can actually ask you the question. So what made you choose that one, and how did you get to that point rearranging it?
Do you mind if I take this one, Strud?
Go for it.
Pretty much we turned around and went, we want to do a cover and we have to do it ours. Let's pick something that's either going to make us or break us. And that was pretty much where it started. It was, this is a song. Everyone knows this song. It's definitely a song that's going to be around forever and a day. And we're either going to be able to do it or we're not going to be able to do it. And it was basically that's sort of how it started, was sort of the challenge, And look, in terms of the composition of it, I think it was just us going over it in the rehearsal room, wasn't it, Strud?
The humming started from me in the shower.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I remember we had kind of spoke about the song, and I remember ringing Lee and I said, "What about if we had a hum?" And he goes, "What do you mean?" And I said, "I was just in the shower, and I reckon a hum would be kind of cool." And then Lee's like, "No, I don't know." And then he rings me back about a couple of minutes later and he goes, "You know what, let's try it." And we got in the room and tried it. And it goes back to what we were saying before, bringing the staples out but adding our own kind of thing to it. It's, as Lee said, it make us or break us. I also want to add to that a little bit as well, is everyone who covers a Black Sabbath song, it's always going to be Paranoid or War Pigs or something like that.
Yeah.
And all the covers of NIB always have the start, like the bass solo at the start to lure you in. And we wanted to do something different to kind of capture people, and that's kind of what we went with. Yeah. And then I feel that just the way we did it, and we had fun doing it. So if it come out and it did break us at the time, we were still like, you know what, this is who we are. It was some fun, and it just happened. Like, we've had some compliments with that song. Some people have said that they like it better than the original. Some people it's on par. Some people said it's not my thing, but that's what makes music fun. It's just everyone's thing.
And that's actually one of our tracks that That track is probably one of our most played tracks in America, actually. Even to this day, it still gets radio play over in America consistently. Wow. So it's one of those ones that, a few guys heard it over there and started. And as Strud said, it's either, you love it or you hate it, or, but it's us. And that's us,
But I think that's important, though, because we'll talk about other things beforehand, but I firmly believe in just being yourself and whatever expression that leads into is key. So how important is that, being yourselves, but also that being open to I get the impression that basically someone has an idea and you'll go, okay, fuck it, let's see what happens kind of thing, and see if it sticks or if it just falls flat. How important is it, to be true to yourself, but also to be open-minded at the same time to other ideas, like, humming in the shower and stuff that come into mind. So how important are those things to the Dreadful Tides overall?
Look, you take this one. You take it.
At the end of the day, it's exactly like that, right? The amount of times that me and Struddy answer at the same time is crazy, right? And we all just push each other. That's the biggest thing, and it's about getting the best out of each other. And again, we were actually talking about the other night. It's about always learning and always taking something new on, and we will try stuff and we'll step into somewhere a little bit different. One of the songs we did at our last show was a brand new song. Like, we literally finished it on the way to the show in Adelaide. And it's different for us, to be honest. It was a very different thing. It had Jimmy picking up the acoustic and, adding a bit of different flair. The actual response from the audience on it was better than, in all honesty, I probably expected, which surprised me, because for me it was a different sound to the band. And that's what most people commented was, it is very different for you guys, but it works. Somehow it still works. And I think that's the thing, because we all throw in our own little flavors and we work together really well. And it's, it's not really just one person writes a song and then we all get a click track or a drum track or whatever, and that's what we go out and play. No matter what we bring out, you can still hear that little bit of TDT in it. So for us, there is that sound. And definitely, obviously the riffs that we write are very suggestive of our sound. And one of the biggest things that me and Strud sort of built the foundation of this band on was simple works. Let's keep it simple. Let's not go super technical. Look, in all honesty, my drumming, especially songs like Foul Play, most drummers would have a hard time playing that song, because I don't really do much in that song. There's I think one fill I do in the whole entire song. But for me, that's filled out by doing little extra things on my snare drum and things here and there. But that's all that song needed. It was a gritty song. It was wide and open.
Yep.
And if I was to put more on it, it would just be too busy. So we write for TDT. We don't write for ourselves. We just write for TDT with a little bit of all of us in there.
Yep. Nice. Cool. Well, speaking of songs, let's move over now to your latest single and video, Black Widow, which did very well with our collective in the Hot Rocks part of a live stream recently. So well done on that one, because a lot of people enjoyed that. But one, how's the response been to that one? But also, what was the inspiration behind that one? Because that was a darker, different sort of a slight change in tone overall for you guys. Well, you listen to the other singles, and then that one sort of stands out on its own in a very good way as far as I'm concerned. But sort of, again, that exploration, that kind of changing things. But let's talk us through a bit more detail about your latest song there.
So that song, musically, it actually had come from a heavier riff. There was a heavy riff that was thrown around in one of our rehearsals that I kind of went back and mellowed down a little bit, because we spoke about, we wanted to have a bit of that radio kind of friendly song, just something with a hook, which apparently a lot of our songs have, but we wanted something more hooky. And it happened to be, I was sitting down and a spider documentary come on. Funnily enough, the song is not about a spider, but and I had a couple of lines that come to mind, and I sent them to Lee via text, and he read them, and he's like, "That's kind of cool. within 30 seconds, he sent back half of probably the second verse. Wow. And then within the matter of probably half an hour going back and forth over the phone, that song pretty much was that. We went to the next rehearsal and said, hey, let's give this a crack. Funnily enough, a lot of the songs have been written that way. And I feel, as weird as it sounds, and Lee will probably back me up on this a little bit, I feel when you're working with the right people, something just clicks. Like Lee said before, we nearly answer each other's things, or we talk at the same time, because I feel that we know each other that well that we know how each other works, it makes it easy for me, because as Lee said before, I can send him 2-3 minutes worth of riffs and he'll send me something back. Sometimes there's 2 songs worth in there. Sometimes he'll go, that's not good enough, let's do it again. It just challenges each other. And I know if you know someone as well as some people think they know people, a little in-house competitions is always good. It makes you become a better person, and it builds a stronger friendship, in my opinion. So that is how that song was written. It was literally going back and forth. And we're pretty strong on, or I'm pretty strong on, I let people have their own opinion about the song where it takes them. Because if we were to sit there and say, this song means this to us, it might mean something different to you, and then you might change your feel on the song. If that song connects to you because of something, but it connects to Lee differently, who's to say it's right or wrong? If it connects to someone, it's done its job.
Yep. No, completely agree. I like that approach, and the more you can sort of leave things open to interpretation, the better each individual can, like you said, connect with the music for that one. Now, going back in time a little bit, November 23, you changed over vocalist, and just on that note, just how much, because that's a pretty big change in any band at the best of times. So how since then you've released the singles Fire in the Hole and the one we just talked about, Black Widow. So how much does that change things for you, and does that, because a vocalist is the focal point for so many people that listen or watch, does that in turn more consciously or more subconsciously influence the way you write the songs and the tones and the sound, the feel overall you're going for? Because a vocalist can really change things up in a very big way. I don't know, just your thought process there on how that sort of has impacted the band in that change.
Well, one of the funny things with that for us, the EP, by that time that we were doing it, the drums were already laid for the tracks, the guitar was laid for the tracks, and the bass. It was pretty much, though the foundation was actually done. At that stage, we hadn't really done leads and stuff yet. Because so how we like to do it was, obviously we go in, we lay it, the vocalist goes in, and then we'll actually get the mixers listen, and Strut will, go through and write his solo. Like, he'll have a basis idea and we'll throw around, but once the lyrics are down, he picks and tweaks, and then we add some little bits here and there. So the foundation of most of this stuff was down. Fire in the Hole is probably a really good explanation of how things changed. Same kind of thing as Black Widow. One day we were sitting there, and me and Strud were just talking, and we're like, we just need an opener for our live shows. How can we get the attention of people so they come out of the smokers area and back inside? One of the things a lot of bands do is they'll use a siren, or they'll have, for a while there we actually had a thing where we had some aeroplanes, like some old B-52 bombers and stuff dropping bombs. It's actually like BBC footage that I sort of edited together. So like proper, like from then, and it was dodgy as hell, but we're a new band and it was kind of cool. So we're going, well, how do we get attention? You know how to get attention in a room full of people? Yell out fire in the middle of that room, and everyone's going to go, run! And that was the basis for the whole song. It literally started with going, all right, if we yell out fire, people are going to look at us. So we wrote this whole song, and me and Strud aren't the most lyrical geniuses in the world. We're getting better. But so we wrote this song, and then when we went into record, we're like, look, we'll just lay it. It's an extra thing. We've already done it. It's kind of a cool riff. We'll just put it down. Yeah. Then when Jimmy we were trying singers, we actually tried a couple of different ones. And Jimmy just suited. But one of the things he did for us was he kind of turned around and went, do you guys mind if I rewrite the lyrics? And we're like, nah, I don't go for it. Like, it's either going to, it's going to go one way or the other. And again, we weren't sold on this because we were actually never going to record this track originally.
Yeah.
And then he wrote the lyrics, So the bits that we had was the chorus. I think we kept the same, and the yelling of fire at the start, and that was it. And then he just wrote all these new verses and stuff for it. Then he kind of came back and showed us, and we were like, he might be the guy. Let's see what happens there. When he actually came in, he did our version. He auditioned with our version, and we turned around and went, well, give your shot, give your one a shot as well, basically. And from there, we're like, I think that's the one. So, there's a few things like Black Widow, as we said, that stayed the same. But most of the Fire we changed. One of the other ones I think we've changed, we did change the lyrics on. And then the other one we just kind of kept the same as well with a couple little tweaks in it. But that's just kind of how it works. Like, he rewrote one of our songs and it sounded better. And in all honesty, Fire just became a hit that people loved. Like, it went from a burner just to open the show and get some attention to, in all honesty, one of our best songs, we think. And that's how we do, like, he was right for the band. And I think for us, we really liked Holden's voice. It had that nice melodicness to it, and it was a little bit different, But as our sound developed and the amount of microphones in the recording studio grew and, the experimentation started to grow, everything just started to go bigger and bigger. So when Jimmy came on with his deep voice and his grit behind it, it just worked for where we were heading, And he's a cool dude, and he's like a giant, so I can hide behind him.
6'7".
Oh, wow.
6'7".
Wow.
Or 6'5".
He's a unit.
He's a
proper.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. Wow, I didn't realize that. You don't, because obviously the way you shoot in your videos hides that a little bit. But yeah, no, that's
cool. Yeah, he's a unit.
Someone that big yelling at fire at the start of your show is definitely going to get some attention. So that's
if he's off the stage, and I'm on the stage, he's still got a head on me.
You should get like a photo of that. Get like just to get the contrast out there. All right, you've got other stuff here. Let's a quick one here. Don't have to give away anything if you don't want to, obviously, but just do either of you have a particular favorite song that you've released or have in the bank so far? I know it's a bit like choosing children and all that sort of stuff, but just, is there one that sort of at this moment in time you're like, okay, that's the one that resonates with me the most?
For me personally, I've always loved Widow.
Yep.
Okay. I've always loved Black Widow, and I always said that was one of my favorite songs. Until you see what's coming.
Okay.
Nice. The other ones that we have, I mean, I've always liked our stuff, don't get me wrong.
Yeah. It's not about trying to dismiss anything else, yeah.
The next one that's coming out, I've always liked, but it was never one of my favourites. But since we've heard what Jimmy's done with it, with changing the lyrics and the little bits and pieces that we've added to it and things like that, it is, at this point in time, my favourite.
Nice.
And I actually said this to Lee yesterday. We have the listen mix back, and normally when we get a listen mix back, I'll listen to it to see if there's anything on my behalf that I could have done different or we should get changed in the mix or whatever. I'm actually listening to this because I want to hear the song for the song. I'm not looking for imperfections or anything like that. I'm actually I'm a fan of this song. Like, it is
cool.
It's a killer song.
That's nice because it's hard to separate yourself and get to that point, which is cool. Yeah.
And
awesome.
that one in particular, I was exactly the same. Honestly, it's quickly become, my favorite as well. And again, it was one of the types of songs that kind of confused us to play originally, because it's literally it's a little bit different to what we normally do. Again, we're always trying to grow and push ourselves. So it's one of those songs that's here and then it sort of goes there halfway through a verse and then it jumps back. And anyone that's seen us live will probably get a bit of a grasp of what song it is now, which is great and it's fine. But then we added some more things to it, and like even Strud has put in some little extra little licks and stuff throughout the song, and there's a few little cool things that he's done on there that I'm just like, all right, cool. I don't mind that. Like, yeah, I'm not going to be able to sit at home and jam along to that on my guitar, but anyway, it's fine.
Me either.
Oh, this is cool.
That's my homework. I'm going to relearn half the stuff before play it now.
That's the trouble, isn't it? You put it down, you forget how to play it. All right, I'm going to change gears on us a little bit here and go to a really basic stock standard question that you may or may not be tired of. But where does the name The Dreadful Tides come from? We haven't had a chance to cover that with you guys. So where does that come from?
So basically, with that, when we first got together, we were just coming up with some names, and we're like, right, we've got a gig booked. We really should probably start sorting something out. And our singer at the time, Holden, was just sort of throwing things around, and him and me were talking one day, and somehow we're on the topic of waves in the ocean, and we're like, oh, that's cool. And then we come up with Dreadful Tides. And then Strutty turned around and he's like, can we add that so we can change it to TDT? And we're like, yes, 100%. Nice. And the truth is, when we first did it, like every band, like the Foo Fighters and everyone else, it'll do for now and we'll work on it properly later on. And
it's later on.
Yeah, it's later on. And now it's stuck. And, even in our, what I'll call our sort of second version of the band now that, Wes, again, when Wes come on board and then Jimmy came on board, it's stuck. The coolest part is, though, people are actually referring to us more as TDT now than the Dreadful Tides.
Nice.
So we're actually hit that point now where we're kind of using that more than anything else. As I said, we've always had like the TDT fam, and we refer to ourselves to it as a bit. But even in interviews and stuff now, people are just like, all right, so where's TDT at? And I'm like, we're getting somewhere now. Like, yeah. So with the album launch and things like we're going to have new, drum skins and stuff like that coming out on the kick drum and that. And we're really laying into that TDT more than the Dreadful Tides these days. So, yeah.
Cool. Well, I'll keep that in mind and make sure I use that as a reference point to help that along in the future. That's all good. This sort of is where we're going to start to dovetail a bit into the Patreon side of things. Got a few questions here from some Patreon members, and just you may or may not have sort of answered this one already. But Jolie, her first question was, is there? I know you sort of say that there's an individualized meaning to your songs, but do you guys have any sort of hidden meanings within your songs there that you don't have to give anything away per se, but is there anything in that, like even just personally for you guys, or how does that sort of work, if at all?
I think if I jump on it, so the first couple of songs Strut actually wrote and brought to the project, right? So Crazy, House of Pain. I really think those songs are they're self-explanatory with your own meaning behind it. So as you said, like we like people interpret it their own way. When you listen to them, both of those songs are definitely about, struggles and, dealing with some mental health and things like that. One of the best comments that I've ever received from anyone was someone spent a little bit of time in a hospital dealing with some of those issues. And they actually ordered a shirt off us and said that Crazy got him out, and Crazy was the only way that they could actually used that song and played it to their therapist to go, hey, this is what I've been trying to tell you. Like, this is how I feel in my head. And that was kind of, one of the biggest things for me, especially because it was our first sort of single and that, but to kind of go, wow, like, what you do put down on paper does hit people in super different ways. A lot of guys sort of hear that and hear the I'm Going Crazy and think it's a bit of a party song because it is a real upbeat kind of pushy thing. And that's one of the things with that, and also House of Pain and stuff, is the music doesn't exactly reflect the message that's being told. Fire in the Hole, that song's about PTSD. That was one of the things we did with it. When you actually really listen to the lyrics of that, it's really about that, struggle, sort of like when you come back and you're walking down the road and, you think there's a bomb going off here or you can't sleep. And the words in that are quite reflective of that. But at the same time, if you listen to that song without that meaning and you listen to it openly, you can reflect it the same way. And again, it can be about some mental health in any other way, not just specific to that. Initially with that song, we were actually going to do a very sort of specific film clip with it. And we were going to have some flashes of Army and all the rest of the kind of stuff in there. And if you actually watch the film clip closely, you will see there's some like Army helmets in the background on top of the amplifiers and little grenades sitting around and things like that. But it's done in a way that you don't really notice unless you look at it, So yes, we do. We kind of find meaning as we write, and I think that's probably the best way to explain it. Is the songs develop themselves, where we're not really sitting down and going, we're going to write a song about this. It's just, all right, here's the words we've come up with. Let's see where it takes us. What's probably, and that was Fire in the Hole was completely different. Like, as we said, it was an opener. So we had to write a song about the yelling fire and then the words fire in the hole and kind of piece all this stuff together to kind of make it work, and really Jimmy's lyrics sort of took that off. But even Black Widow, like, I'll throw that one on the strud because, I still to this day can't exactly, like, it's got so many different meanings. So what do you think, Strud?
Look, to me, I feel, like I said, when we kind of wrote it, it didn't, like Lee said, we didn't sit there and go, it's got to mean this. The songs that I've contributed lyric-wise, I try to write to connect to a lot of people in different ways. So for me, everyone has gone through that feeling where, say, argument's sake, you fall in love with someone or you've got a crush on someone or something like that, and it's kind of like, even if they're doing the wrong thing, you're still obsessed with that thing kind of thing. Like the poison is kind of taking over you. So it's kind of along that term, but it's like as I said, the song has nothing to do with spiders, but like the Black Widow spider, the female Black Widow spider lures the male in, they mate, and then it kind of eats the male, and then it's it. So it's kind of like that, but it could be in the real world, it happens with everything. It could be a job. You could get a job and you're kind of working for the man, as Jack Black would say. You're working for the man and they just take advantage of you, and you're kind of you're getting your pay at the end of the week, and it's kind of luring you in because you want that money, but it doesn't matter how you're getting it. So it can be however you want to look at it. But the secret message for me in that song is more you're getting sucked into the evil, really.
Yeah. Someone actually asked me if it was about addiction, actually.
Okay.
And I sort of went, let me go back and listen. And I sort of went back, and it's like, Then you sort of hear the chorus, and you start to work, and you're like, same thing, like poison runs through my veins, Black Widow addict again. And I was like, cool. We definitely need to be careful how we market this one because they might think we're just all addicts.
I can understand that. Yeah, when you listen to the song, you can definitely hear it. I'm going to try and go through a few ones quickly because we are getting tighter on time. So just from Michael here, it's a bit of a fun one, probably more directed at Struddy, but how many Gibsons are enough and how many should you be allowed to own before it affects your relationship? So...
well, I've actually...
Here we go.
I've actually got this, so I don't know if you can read it there, but it says there, only Gibson is good enough. So for that answer, you can have as many as you want. I'm at the point now with my wife that if I was to buy another guitar, I've got to get rid of another guitar. So, but in her defence, she has bought a couple to add to my collection over the time. So I take that as a win, and it means that I could be spending my money on other things. So I'd rather buy a few guitars. And really, they're tools of the trade. I don't care what anyone says. I feel that every guitar, every instrument has their own feel. Lee's got multiple drum kits. He might play a different drum kit tomorrow and actually play something that he's never thought of before and go, you know what, I'm going to buy that kit because it's inspired this. So, look, I've got probably more guitars than I need, but they all do serve a purpose.
Yep. No, it's all good.
We definitely are the type of band that, you know, and Wes is the same. Wes has got his normal bass. He's got his 5-string bass. He has a double bass, you know. So, like, and again, like, 10, 12, 13, 15 guitars, whatever it's at now. I lost count as well. Isn't as bad as, you know, I think in my music room, right now I've got 2 music rooms in my house because I'm a drummer. But I got a practice room, another one. But again, like 5 drum kits is a lot. When one of those drum kits alone is 14 drums. And the other's 8 drums, and then et cetera. All of a sudden, you know, Strutty's not in as much trouble as me, so it's not that bad.
It does become a thing that sort of grows of a life of its own and just sort of takes things over. I've got we're getting some stuff brought up from Melbourne soon that's just going to be, you know, we're building and renovating at the moment, but that'll be added to my room in here very quickly, and I'll be happy to get those things back, some guitars and that. I'm finally going to get them back, so it'll be nicely. I'm looking forward to that next week. But anyway,
they're not Gibsons that you're looking to get rid of, are they?
No, I'm not getting rid of anything. No. I'm getting them back. But I'm looking forward to get my baritone guitar back. That's the one I'm looking forward to.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
All right, now from Michael, another one here. Obviously more serious, this one here, but wondering if for a band like yours, are any sponsorships kind of offered to you guys, either in dollars or equipment like endorsements, or is all of this self-funded for you guys as well? For example, us at the show, we've discussed merch in the past and how it's important to help bands and anyone else doing creative. So in addition to what Michael has referenced there about you guys, about, you know, how much is this self-funded versus any other methodology, but also as a segue off of that, how can people best support you if they want to do so?
Well, the biggest thing that we've done, we've actually been very fortunate, right? We've always done it ourselves, and as I said, we've got a lot of people that have helped us out. So we have been fortunate enough that we have been approached a couple of times by a couple of different labels. With different levels of deals, some quite good actually, and others just throw them up and, you know, chuck them away. So when we've always sat down for that, we've always come back to the same conclusion, and it's with us, we do a lot of our own graphic design, and, you know, now we're at a point where we're starting to have to reach out to get a little bit more help. You know, the NIB that we were talking about earlier, I actually edited that whole entire film clip, and it was my first go at a proper one. The first few clips are our original bass player D-Man put some stuff. The Rebel lyric video, I put that one together. NIB was funny because I was the one in the cloak, and I had a tripod next to a road walking in, and you could see the cars just being like, what's this dude doing, you know? But so for us, every time we've sat down and had that conversation, it's come back to the point of, until we can't physically do it ourselves and we don't have time and things, then we just keep doing it ourselves. Our photographer, you know, we have a couple of specific guys there that really do help us out, and we still obviously pay them for their time and stuff, but they might return that by taking extra shots and editing them for a little bit extra. Or when we recorded the last couple of video clips, we had a photographer come around, and we got him for 3 hours, and he was there for 8 hours moving gear around. And, you know, then all of a sudden he's working with our videographer and they're sharing shots and looking over stuff, you know. So we're very much wanting to do it ourselves to the point that we can't, or the point that we feel that we're ready to take that next step. In terms of where guys can help us out, our biggest thing's merch, obviously, for every band, right? The way that I look at it is the same as I tell everyone, every band, and it's your merch is where you actually make money to put back into the band. Shows, you don't really. You got 4 bands on a lineup. You'll get a little bit in your pocket, but again, like we had a really, really, really good show at the Woodshed in Adelaide. That was our last show. Yep. We played Audio Rain and Feed the Fire. Now that's great, and we had a packed out crowd. But by the time you sort of work on accommodation and you drive there and you do all the rest, like it's definitely for the love of it. But that night we sold more merch by quite a lot than what we actually made in the gig. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for every single band out there, one thing that we do is try and have a little bit of a point of difference with our merch. We went as far as Strutty sorted it, because you do have one of those. There we are. He knew what I was talking about. See that?
Nice.
So we have TDT cast rings. Little things that just add that point of difference. And again, it might not be something that someone throws in their finger and wears all the time, but it's something they can sit on the shelf or on their desk, and it's something a little bit different. That's what we try and do. We try and have a bit of fun. So that's pretty much the best way to help us out. And again, the EP is coming out. Once we release the EP, it is going to be only available while we're on tour for the first few months. And then we're going to release it online for sale. But you will be only able to get it by coming to a show and buying a physical in front of us. And again, it's a way to help people to come to the shows and interact and get something special from all the shows we do. So that's probably the biggest thing is just do that. Look, if you want to ask for our bank accounts and give us $30,000, I'll take a holiday and that's fine. But that doesn't exactly happen every day.
We also accept Gibsons as down payment.
At least you're not paying for it that way. That'll work out better in your favour, so it's all right. All right. I just want to get a couple more sort of in-depth ones before we get into the fun little closing ones here that I've already teed you guys up with in advance. Just because it has come up quite a bit, and it's obviously very important. The value, you put up a post about this recently as well, and the value you find in the friendships and the connections you built, this whole community, the TDT family, as you're putting it together. You know, how important do you think that is? Because I think it's more important than ever before for any band or any creative venture to have that connection to the people that enjoy what they do. But how important is it to you guys, and what sort of how do you go to fostering it, and what's important to you in that regard?
I find it's not what you know, it's who you know. I find it doesn't matter how long the journey is, it's who you've got on the journey. So for me, having people like-minded people that love what you do or anything like that, like, it's great. So the people, like the relationships we have built, theoretically, me and Lee met through social media. Obviously through COVID and all that other stuff. So, but I feel that, like, I would call him definitely like my best mate. The bands are my best mates, and I feel that I know them more than I know some people that I've grown up with my whole life. Because I feel music, everyone can connect with music. Like, everyone, music is everywhere. Whether you can hear it or not, you can see it, like magazines or vinyl covers or anything. So I feel music people, like music nerds, like all of us musos, we're all our own weird bunch. So I feel that other musos will understand what I'm trying to say. But the people that we have met along the way, like the guys like yourself and Phil and Tish and Ricky Ray and Sladen's and all these other bands as well, they're like mates for life, really. Like, there's no other way to put it. It's like you could meet someone at a gig and then see them 12 months later and you haven't seen him since, and it'd be like, oh, I seen you at that gig watching a Blaze or whoever, that was a cool night, right? And you just instantly connect on that. So for me, like, I played footy growing up and I made a lot of friends through that, but I feel music, you make a lot more friends for life than anything, in my opinion.
Yep. Nice. Cool. I think that's a very, very good way to put it. And on that note, you did mention the name. I did want to get this one in before we get out of here, is the quote-unquote fifth member of TDT, Ricky Ray. How important is he to you guys? And obviously, you know, having a producer is a good thing, but obviously you've chosen Ricky Ray and Light Hill for a particular reason. So what made you decide on that to be, was it, you know, just the connection you built, or was it there's more to it? No, you know, how does that come to be that he ends up being the fifth
Can
member?
I let Lee answer this one? I just want to say one thing before Lee takes over. When we had decided to go with Ricky Ray and the studio at Light Hill,
Yeah.
Ricky wasn't even there. We went there and met his brother. And
Yeah.
we instantly we had spoken to Ricky on the phone, and just the way he was, we were like, yeah, this is it. Like,
Yep.
So Lee, I'll let you answer the rest of this.
All right. So when we did it, we actually checked out a heap of different studios. I mean, we all went together as a band. Let's go here, let's go here, let's go here. So when we get there, Stud's done the quick kind of conversation, and he's like, oh, he's not going to be available, but Shane's going to be available. All right, we'll go and meet him. And then literally we sort of went in, and I'm a very picky person because I'm a drummer. And for me, I've always...
Yeah.
Well, no, it wasn't even that. For me, I like a natural reverb, you know. What I actually record with a Pearl reissue wood fiberglass kit. So very, very random sort of kit, but hydraulic heads, you know, sort of 70s spec. Like most people won't record with that. But it's all about natural reverb. So I literally just went, hey, do you mind if I go and hit the snare in there? And he's like, mate, go play the kit if you want. And I was like, no, let me just hit the snare. And I went, yep, boys, I don't care what you're doing. I'm recording here. And then we had our sessions with Ricky. And the truth is, man, Ricky's a mate of ours. We call him and talk outside. Like, he helps me with microphone choices and stuff like that. And we're always going back and forth. And, you know, we sit around there and, you know, even just yesterday, we go and get pies and we have to have cinnamon donuts. Yeah. And that's what it is. It never feels like a day of work. And the guy pushes us, you know what I mean? Like, and we go, even when I'm in the studio, so I'll do a little bit and then he'll come in and go, oh, try this. And then we go back and forth. And, you know, the bottom line is, he's an amazing dude. He really understands the sound that we're trying to chase. And he's really, really, really good at helping us develop that sound. And just naturally, he's able to sort of push us a lot further. He's just a cool dude. Like, that's the biggest thing. The fact that he's amazing at his job is an absolute bonus.
Yep.
And I feel he as Lee said, like, it doesn't feel like when we're in there, it doesn't feel like we're recording music. We're literally talking shit half the day, and Ricky's genuinely enjoying and like, we look at him, as we said, as a fifth member. Like, his opinion to us is like a huge opinion. Lee said earlier about some of the labels and stuff have had approached us, and we've kind of gone, some of these deals are pretty good, and we will ring Ricky and ask for his advice. Because his advice, like his opinion to us, is a lot bigger than a lot of other people's. Not the fact of who he is or anything, but just what he means to us. Like, he's like I said before, music, you create friendships for life, and I would classify Ricky as one of them for sure. He's always contacted us, just even for personal reasons. When your son was born, when my son was born, and things like that. And so I look at it as he is our producer, but I don't look at him as a producer first. I look at him as a mate and a band member.
Awesome. No, that's cool.
Ricky. I love you, Ricky.
Good. He's very good at what he does. But everyone I've heard working with him is similarly. He's one of those people that's a good person all around. And
just quickly on that, the thing is, off that, you know, like Stone Trip record with him and a Blaze record with him, and all of us have connected with each other based around the fact that we record with Ricky. It's actually really funny. Some of those original recordings, we use two cabs a lot of the time. So Mick Malusa from Stone Trip's guitar cab appears on, you know, a few of our songs, and vice versa. And then, you know, some of Blaze's stuff occasionally. Whatever's in the studio is basically free game.
We'll have to break them the news. Your cab's on one of our solos.
But that's just how it is there. And that's the thing, you know. I get a random message from Mick Malusa one day, and he's like, hey, bro, just so you know, Ricky gave me a quick taste of your new track, and I absolutely love it. That's so incredible. And I was like, man, that's so good. Like, and we share that kind of thing with each other, you know. So, and not in a bad way, in a way that I'm so glad that he thinks highly enough of us to show musicians like Mick and Rich show and stuff. Like, we're not that good. Like, we just pretend, you know.
Imposter syndrome kicks in. Yeah, but it's cool. There's a little micro community building out of that as well, that's actually really cool. Keeping an eye on time, we're going to run a few minutes later over, but I'm going to try and make these ones quick now. So just sort of what is coming up in the near future? You've got obviously the release coming up, but what else is in the near future for TDT?
Yeah, so I'll keep it super quick for you. We've got the EP release that's going to come. We're going to be looking at a tour after that. So we actually have Victoria being the release. Then we're going to Adelaide. We're looking at New South Wales and then Queensland. So we're just working on that at the moment. Those dates come out in the next few times. By then, that should take us out sort of to the end of the year into January. Strud, congratulations, is having another baby.
Nice. Yep. Congrats.
So slightly less Gibson purchases again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we'll take some time off after that. And then to follow on that, we actually want to do a Vic regional tour. So we want to hit, Warrnambool, Bendigo, Geelong, up to Albury and stuff, then come down sort of the other side through Latrobe Valley and everything like that. We'll have a couple of months off, write some stuff, and then we'll go back into the studio and start to work on that. So pretty much from now on, we're actually in a point where we're sort of going to be doing a 3 month on, 3 months off. So it'll just be, we only play Melbourne a couple of times a year now because we want to play every state. One of the best parts about playing in band is you get to travel. And the truth is, whether we, book a gig locally and we drive and we stay in hotels or we go somewhere else, flights aren't too bad these days. So let's go and have some fun. So we got some good memories. So pretty much for us, it'll be, the tour, time off, regional tour, time off, tour, time off, regional tour for the next couple of years until, and donuts.
Nice. All right. Well, before we get to the share the love segment that we do for every interview, is there anything else you would like to say to the people watching this at home out there? Just an open floor for you guys.
I think just thank you. Like, in all honesty, I think just thanks for checking us out once. And if you listen to us more than that, thanks again. For the fact that so many people either, listen to us and just like us or take a message from something and it sort of hits them. Look, this was something that we do for the love of it. And the truth is, most of us guys do it not even for ourselves. It's really just to show our children that, hey, follow your dreams. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, the world's pretty tough these days, and most people get stuck, being a plumber or an electrician, and we've all got day jobs, plasterer. So you can do that, but you can, hey, there you go. I have a corporate job, so I'm just one of those guys. I don't look like I should, but but that's the thing. Like, you can work the week and then you can go on the way on the weekend. You can actually live your passion, and if it costs you a bit or anything, it doesn't matter. Just do what you love. And that's the truth. Like, we want to show anyone that listens to us will very quickly work out. We just love what we do and we have an absolute blast doing it. And we don't really care at the end of the day because we got to do this far already. It's kind of cool. Like, whatever happens after this is a bonus. So
awesome.
Yeah.
No. Cool. Well put. All right, time for the fun little segment here. A few little ones just that we throw to every band that comes through now. And you guys, I send these ones through to give you guys time to prep, obviously, because I've caught people on the hop before in the past, and I try to get a bit more prepared these days. But just because I like this to be sort of a communal thing, I said we've all talked about that before, but just sort of what's another band that's really got your attention in 2024? It can be local, preferably, but it doesn't have to be. And you guys have obviously discussed this in advance. So just what band have you guys settled on that's caught your attention in 2024?
Look, I think for me personally, there's a lot, but I'm going to say it's not really local, but I'm going to say Audio Rain for me.
Yeah, cool.
Reason why is I feel they're nearly like two bands, meaning I feel you get their recorded sound and it's phenomenal. But after actually playing with them in Adelaide and seeing their live show and kind of meeting the guys and seeing what they do, like, you kind of then go, you know what? there's another element to them as well. And like we said before, you just meet some cool people through music. There's so many that I could name personally, but for me so far, I'm going to say Audio Rain.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. No, they're great guys and they're phenomenal live too. So that's another band that we love here at the show. So next one on that, following on from that, is what new release are you looking forward to or has already impressed you in the year that is 2024?
All right, so there's a couple of little special ones. As we said, we may have a couple of the hints to some of the stuff that is coming out through some friends. The one thing that we can say is most of the bands that we're going to either be on a lineup with for the rest of the year, or that we have played shows with recently, are just leveling up, and we're all chasing each other. And the truth is, right from like Shotgun's new album, Stone Trip's got some new stuff that's coming out that's phenomenal. Again, Audio Rain's new album is phenomenal. Blazer's new stuff is incredible. Like, honestly, as long as it's from Australia, it's getting pretty damn good.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's actually kind of funny. Just to quickly segue here, there was years ago when we sort of started ramping up the show a bit, so it's 2014, 15 kind of thing. We were really sort of watching bands really push each other and evolve, and then it peaked for a bit, and then it sort of dipped away. The rock scene sort of dipped away, became more of a metal scene in Melbourne, and now it feels like there's that incline again where that bar is getting raised as the things go on. So it all goes in cycles, but it's cool to see that sort of happening again in the Aussie circuit, which is cool. All right. Final one here is, what is a bucket list artist or band that for you would love to meet or play with, or basically anything at all, but just a bucket list artist or band that everyone, it's a fun one, the drill. Where do you bounce on this one?
Well, Lee knows who I'm going to say.
Can't say anyone you've met.
Oh, damn.
It's got to be a bucket list.
That was my ammo. That was my cool.
It was his bucket list. It's a cool story. Let him go.
So,
I'll give you a pass.
As I said before, I'm a bit of a Zach fan. I was fortunate enough to meet him and hang out backstage in Adelaide at the Pantera gig, to the point that he actually watched the Fire and the whole film clip before we released the song. And he gave credits to Ricky and all of the boys as well, which is cool. So for me, I would love to play alongside or on a bill with either one of Zach's bands, obviously Pantera, BLS, any of them. That for me, if I was to do that, I'd feel like I'd made it. I'd be happy.
Nice. Cool.
I think for me, it's not as much about who I play with. Again, my music's really broad, so if I nail that down, I'm just going to, it's more about where.
Okay, cool.
So look, I played the Gershwin Room back in the day at the ESPY, you know what I mean? And, at that point, I was playing in a band that did not have a sound anywhere close to ours. So one of my goals is to play the Gershwin Room with TDT and just feel that low rumble through my seat. You know what I mean?
It's a good room.
Yeah, such a good room. And once you do it once, you're like, yeah, let's go back. And I think that's the biggest thing for me is, if I can play that venue with these guys, 100%, that's going to just make my day. You know what I mean? I don't care who I do it with. I'll pay any money if I have to.
Buy me a Gibson. I might know a guy.
All right. That feels like a great way to close the circle on this one here. So, look, congrats on everything you've done so far, and all the best for everything that's coming up as well. It's been a pleasure to sort of get to know you guys further doing this process, but also just as a fan, your music is fucking fantastic. So congrats on everything so far, and again, all the best with everything coming up.
Can I ask you one question?
Yeah, of course.
I obviously have seen a lot of your streams. I want to know why Black Widow is your favourite song. What about that song captures you the most out of all our songs?
I think it's the combination of the mood of the song overall, because not to be stereotypical, but a lot of the other stuff, the NRB cover is different and it's a cool cover, but the rest of the stuff is not stock standard meat and potatoes rock and roll, but it's all very much in the hard rock vein. I think Black Widow stands out because it changes the dynamic of the sonics, like the tones you've used, the note choices, the hook in the chorus, as well as the lyrical storytelling. I do get why people are talking about the addiction side of things, because that Black Widow addict to gain that line, but also the hook in it. I just think that that song to me also felt like the most emotive vocal you guys have put down yet, the more personal and emotive vocal that's come through yet. So not that any of the other stuff is bad, but there's a reason why that song stands out to me more than the other ones. And it's because, one, it's a bit different to the rest, but I think that's kind of like, because it is the newest one, it's also the most different song. So it's felt like you've sort of grown into this point from all the stuff you've done before. And it just feels like a natural step in the evolution of any band always doing its thing. But no, I hope that answers your question. But yeah, no, it just spoke to me in a way that
it's to be honest, it's kind of pumped me up even more for the next releases.
Okay, cool. Yeah. No, I'm keen to hear it, man. Very keen to hear it. So, yeah, happy to hear whatever I can. So yeah, no, I've. It was actually cool because I went through when we did the Backyard Banger segment on you guys and went through all the 7 singles. That to me was where it really starts to shine out, because when you listen to all your songs back to back, that's when that song really does sort of do its own little thing there. To me,
Funny, Crazy and House of Pain were actually recorded before we'd ever played a gig together.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah. So that.
That was one of actually, in all honesty, that was one of the first real times we actually hung out with each other, because it was COVID. We literally only had 4 or 5 days of potential rehearsals and time limits, and even with recording with Ricky there, like, we actually had to wait for the doors to open one day, and Ricky was like, "Guys, get here tomorrow." And, so that was actually the first time we just hung out and sat around with each other and chilled. Which was crazy. So, yeah.
No pun intended.
No. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question for you in that regard. But yeah, no, like I said, I love all your tracks genuinely. It's just, I found that one to be the one that spoke to me the most so far. And from what you're telling me now, bring on the next ones. I'm keen to hear them. So we'll we'll get to that in due course as well. But I just wanted to say thank you guys for your time. It's been an absolute blast having you both on the show, and I look forward to doing this again in the future as well. We'll keep in touch and do more of this in time to come as well. Very much looking forward to that. But again, thank you to you guys, and all the best with everything coming up.
And again, thank you to you. Thank you to you and all the other guys. Like, from the very first time that you guys actually got us on the show, and that was back with Nikki and that back in the day. I remember I kind of shot her one. I was like, "Hey, can you?" And so, I'll show the guys, and from there, you guys have jumped on and pushed, and to the point now that, like, when this stuff came out recently, Strud's like, "Hey, we got featured," and I was like, "What do you mean?" Like, and there was just a remarkable feeling to us, that you guys have actually taken such an interest in what we do, So thank you and everyone for the everything to do with that. So we are avid listeners and watchers as well. So it's pretty special when we just randomly pop up in front of ourselves and, hey, that's us.
Well, on behalf of us all here at the show, you're most welcome. I do speak for everyone in that regard, but no, I know that all of us really do genuinely enjoy the music. So we are definitely all keeping a very keen eye on what is to come next. So definitely again, all the best, and thank you again, and we'll catch up soon.
Awesome. Thank you to everyone that hung around to watch as well. Obviously, we went a bit over time, but hey, we're all having fun. Let's, the fact that we rounded it up now is pretty good.
Cool.
Alrighty, that about wraps us up for the special presentation for this week. Hopefully you've enjoyed these 2 interviews with Carmeria and TDT. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe, all the usual stuff, because these interviews are going to be released in full very, very soon as standalone videos. And we're back again next week with one of our more normal live streams, quote unquote. I'm not quite sure what the format's going to be yet. going to sit down and work that out hopefully today or tomorrow. But like I was saying, a bit of a different one this week. Didn't want to leave you hanging with no Thursday night broadcast, so I figured we'd go over these ones. We haven't released these interviews yet, so hopefully you enjoyed them. Make sure you give us your thoughts as always. And if you want to get more involved and check out things behind the scenes, check out our Patreon page. And yeah, make sure as always you check us out on telly as well. 10:30 p.m. Saturday nights on Channel 31 in Melbourne, and 10:30 p.m. Thursday nights Channel 44 in Adelaide. And yeah, that will about do us. So on behalf of us all here, hopefully you've had a nice week off, quote unquote, from us, and you've enjoyed this one here. To the rest of the guys, we'll see you very, very soon. On behalf of us all here at the show, thank you for watching. I'm Andrew. As always, drink up, rock on. We'll see you next week.